What up, ladies and gentlemen? Here with another awesome interview. I'm very excited for this one. Up bright and early for this, which is not something I do often. So only when there's a big amount of motivation, which there certainly is for this. I'm here with the legendary Brigid Dawson, who has an insane catalog of music with the OCs, with the Mothers of Invention, with everyone and anyone, just the most amazing music ever. Welcome, Miss Dawson, to the show. How are you doing?
I'm very good. How are you doing, love?
I'm doing great. You know?
Good. Yeah.
Uh, it's a beautiful day. I'm hoping I'll get to see the sunrise sooner than later, but
Yeah.
it's uh it's it's great. I'm very glad we could make this happen. I wasn't expecting it, honestly. Um,
I don't get asked to do interviews that often. And I was so I watched your interview with Johnny because I was like, oh God, I don't know what to expect. What should I do? And anyway, I was really excited. I thought your interview was great with him.
Thank you.
Considered questions, talking about music. It's great. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. That was crazy because Kip, um, your
Mhm.
publicist gave that to me when I didn't have any videos out. So that was my first real interview with the band.
With Johnny?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it
That's
was
I could see that he was minding his P's and Q's as well, but he was like, I better not swear too much, all of that. It was cute.
he was awesome, and I'm hoping I'll be able to have him on the show again for the US tour.
Yeah, I'm
But
sure.
yeah, he was absolutely awesome, and I'm so glad I could have you on.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, me too.
so I know you've been recording the whole
Yeah,
week.
I have. Yeah.
Is it for a new Mothers of Invention record?
At Mother's Network, and yes, it is.
Mothers
Yeah.
Network, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's super
I know
exciting.
it's been amazing. It's like at this analog, obviously, so to 2-inch tape. And I had one day's rehearsal with the band. They were totally incredible. And then we had 3 days recording, and I thought maybe we would do, I don't know, 5 songs. And in the end, we ended up doing 11 songs. I mean, I did, we OCs used to do that all the time. But we would be road tight. We would have been touring for ages. And then we'd take those songs into the studio, knock it out in 2 days, live to tape.
Mhm.
This was much more scary. But I think I haven't listened to all the takes yet. Um, I think there's going to be some really good moments on it. I hope.
That's
Yeah.
super duper exciting. When did you
Yeah.
start writing this?
Actually, it's interesting. What during COVID, I know everyone's got a bloody COVID songwriting story, but my mom got really sick right before COVID, and so I came from San Francisco to over to England to nurse her, and I ended up lockdown happened after I got here. And so I ended up staying for a year, and eventually I went back to work and I was managing this office, my old job from England, and then looking after my mom during the day. It was crazy. It was like just a very intense year. But in the beginning part of that year, I had time to like walk to the seaside every day. And I brought a Mellotron that I had just bought, and I brought it with me to England thinking, maybe there'll be time. And so some of the songs that I wrote from that time are on here. And then obviously others are much newer. So
That's
yeah.
absolutely wonderful. And what a
Yeah.
great story. I'm so glad that you were able to nurse your mom because it's the same thing with us. Because my grandparents getting older
Yeah.
and they moved closer to us and we didn't move, but thank God we're in like an area that's kind of near them anyways. And then they moved kind
Yeah.
of close. So we've been able to, help them out. And it really is special. Like at
It is.
least from my perspective, it's so
It is.
beautiful.
Yeah, I just so agree with that. I mean, I don't know if it's because I know I sound partly American, but I grew up with English parents in an English, mostly in England, and then but we moved back and forth a lot. But I'm not sure if all, I'm not sure if all families would do that. Maybe they can't. I was lucky enough to be able to. My work was cool and it wouldn't have stopped me anyway. But but yeah, it's the way we tend to our people in when they're not doing so well is teaches us a lot about life, I think. And our
Exactly.
strength, maybe, you know?
No, for sure. And definitely, I think there's been a loss of maybe the emotional, I don't want to say maturity, but just availability and just space in general with people. Because people, I get it, people are getting so busy with life, and especially in post-COVID life,
Yeah,
it's a lot with work. And I see my dad on call every single night, but I think that if some of the busiest families are able to make it work, like I know you're super busy, and if you're able to make it work, if you know, countless of families are able to make it work, I really would hope that this is like a thing that people do for each other, like a non-negotiable.
me
So
too. Me too. You know, it's like, I mean, as sad as that all is, the honor of being able to look after my mom, who I adore, you know, was like, I mean, irreplaceable, you know. So,
exactly. And
yeah,
I get to see my grandparents every Sunday, which is something that no one else
yeah,
in my family gets to do. And it's just
yeah,
so precious.
yeah.
Like home cooked
It-
meals. You don't get
and
that.
for the rest of your life, I mean, it'll form your character as a person, but for the rest of your life, you'll be like, gosh, I'm so glad I did that. So glad I did.
Exactly. You learn
Yeah,
so much from them that I don't think you can really get from any of their teachers or mentors. It's
yeah,
a different type of learning, a different type of
yeah,
experience.
yeah.
But let's try to move on to something a little bit more, upbeat maybe.
Yeah, you
I,
don't want me to cry in here.
no, no, no. But I appreciate you being open to have that talk with me
Of
because I think that
course.
was very, very beautiful.
Yeah.
But 2024 has, I think, been a pretty good year for music and pretty good year for all things artistic.
Yeah.
What have been your favorite records of the year? Now that we're kind of, getting towards the end.
Wow. That's a great question. I would say at the moment, I'm not super clued into things that are coming out. And my memory is always dreadful when it comes to these questions. But I generally still listen to a lot of older music and then go see live bands. That'd be where it would lead me. So some of the albums I've been listening, I mean, I will say this. Did you see that Brian Eno documentary?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The one that's changes each time. I have a buddy and we went to go see it twice, and I could absolutely have gone two more times because I was so curious about like how the process worked. I found it really inspiring, and this year especially, I've been listening to those first three albums a lot. Um, so that's not modern music, but that is definitely something I've been listening to.
No, that's great. I
Revisit, I suppose, you know.
I
Yeah.
found I don't even know how he popped up on my YouTube search, I think,
Yeah.
and I found this one really obscure record of him um with another artist, a collaborative album. Uh, Shoot, I don't even remember the name. I have it on vinyl though, and it's like my on repeat studying album. Like it is incredible,
Is
you
it the
know?
one with the ones with Harold Budd?
No, no, no. It's like in German.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and every song is kind of like a synth focused, piano focused melody, and
Yeah.
it just repeats into oblivion. And so it's super
Yeah.
helpful whenever you're doing like a repetitive task, like doing your homework.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
it
it.
is. That kind of music in some ways is I used to listen to it. I had a pretty stressful job before I quit it. And at least I could listen to music there. And if I would find myself listening a lot to Brian Eno, and like it would venture into like music's for airports and Thursday afternoon and this kind of, and then I would get full on into the classical music because I think that it calms you down a bit in a stressful situation, you know, and it can be in the background while you're thinking, which is why it's good for homework too. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's funny that you bring up classical music because I'm actually a classically trained violinist.
Are you really?
Yeah. So that's like my one of my things that I do.
That's so awesome. So how, now I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
How did you get into, I mean, I know those things are interchangeable, but I looked at some of the other people that you've interviewed and it seems like you really love, like kind of dirty alternative American,
Yeah.
ways back, you know.
Well, I will say I've interviewed a weird amount of Australians. Oh, why is my camera doing that? I've interviewed like a surprisingly big amount of people from Down Under. Like I think it's got to be 6 or 7 people. But
Wow. Did you interview Mikey Young?
no, I need to. That's
Who
actually
did
on
you
my to-do
interview?
list. Yeah. Here.
We have lots of friends over there that are I always thought Melbourne, like Australian musicians are, and they almost always have a woman in the band and it's not a big deal. And back then it was really nice to play over there. I think it's less of a thing, a little bit less of a thing now, but if you were the only woman on the road in garage band, and then you go to Australia and there's, a woman drummer and it's just not a big deal. And I was like, that is how it should be. That's how it should be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just spoke to the Wine Lips yesterday, and they're a Canadian band, and their drummer Aurora is a woman, and it's just so incredible because I think it really pushes just those stereotypes that people like don't really want to have. They have them. It just
Yeah.
it's just there, and to get to see like a woman just destroying the drums and like absolutely beating the crap out of him is
Yeah.
so inspiring.
Getting steady, not having to worry about looking, we're not having to worry about the way they look, I think, which is, at least in my observation, a really huge pressure. I know men worry about the way they look too, but it's a different thing.
Yeah,
Allowable for a man, it's a powerful thing for a man to get sweaty and stomp the ground. And is that the same? Do women have the same freedom? I mean, they can take it for sure, but uh, it does. I don't know that it works the same way, for women. I think women have internal pressure to be like, I better not be too aggressive, and
well,
thank God there are a million women that have bucked that, but that is a pressure I think that a lot of women feel.
that's why I'm
Maybe
really loving like Saint Vincent.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that now it's changing, but we have like Saint Vincent who's, getting rough and dirty with it and sweating every night and, crowd surfing, and it's
yeah,
super inspiring. Like I want to see that live.
yeah,
That
yeah,
invigorates me.
yeah,
And I don't think there's anything better than a performance where they get sweaty and they get like on the ground and
yeah.
get crazy and no matter the gender, it's just so fun to see that the performer is feeling the same thing that you're feeling.
Yeah, like that you have the total freedom in music that you might need, be you man or woman or whatever.
Exactly. And I think that is the most beautiful thing
Yeah.
because in beauty standards, it's been all about the makeup and the dresses and um kind of I hate to say it, to the male gaze, but the most beautiful thing is just kind of
Part of it.
singing
Yeah.
your song. And
You feel it, even if you don't want it to be that way, and you do want to take total freedom for yourself, you still feel it. So yeah, it has to be, or at least I do think things are probably changing in many ways that I can't even understand now because I'm a bit older, but I certainly felt it coming up. And
yeah,
I'll never forget like watching videos of Janis Joplin playing 'cause when I was a teenager. I mean, she's a great singer, but she was a wonderful performer, like pretty free, pretty. But I would often I noticed that a lot of other like musicians who were dudes at that time, that's a long time ago, would be like, man, she's hard to look at. She's so free and powerful right now. But she's hard to look at. And you're like, oh, that sucks. That's the first thing.
well, I
Yeah.
mean, and she's just pretty, so they're just like I don't see what's it's mess. I don't even get it. I don't get it. Like
Well, that's maybe good. That's how things have changed. You know what I mean?
yeah, it just kind of ruins the whole fun of it when people are nitpicking this and that. Like my least favorite thing is whenever someone's like, that solo isn't the way it was on the record. Like that's kind of the point. There's no fun
No.
in playing the same thing again.
Yeah.
And thank God that yeah, people. I went to my first OC show in Atlanta.
Oh yeah. How was it?
It was amazing. It was so
Did
amazing. Hmm?
you get to meet John?
No, so he gave us tickets.
Yeah.
And I was trying to see if I could just wait, like stay afterwards because I know he hangs out. But it was already 2 a.m. Like they played
Oh,
super
that's
late.
great.
And there's no curfew in Atlanta and where they were. and my mom was already yelling at me to get home, and I was with a senior. We didn't have any parents with us,
Yeah,
so I kind of had to get home ASAP.
I understand.
Next time
Did you
though,
have fun? Did you enjoy the show?
it
Did
was
you crowd
amazing.
surf?
No. So what I will say
I,
is every single time someone tried to crowd surf, even though they oversold the venue entirely, like
yeah.
um they hit a pit would somehow form and they would fall on the ground. And it happened
What?
like six times. And it was
The unusual for OC's show. Usually people are like, they got you, you know?
well,
Huh.
I saw a video in Chicago where they played in 24. John went into the crowd and they actually dropped him, which is that's terrible. That is like a disgrace.
Yes.
And then we saw their keyboardist eating fried chicken where we went to go get dinner beforehand, you know,
Nice.
and I got to talk to him and hang out with him for a little bit. And it was an amazing night of
Yeah.
moshing and my first time in like a punk pit, and I loved it. We saw, you know, like Trap Mask Replica, right?
Yes, totally. I was listening to that conversation with you and John in the
Oh,
interview and it was cracking me up. But yeah. Yeah, I know that. My dad made me a tape when I was 15. Safe as milk on one side, trout mask
Safe as
replica.
Milk is awesome. People don't talk
Yeah.
about it enough. It's so good.
Yeah.
But we saw someone with a Trout Mask Replica like outfit in the pit, and then we also saw a math teacher from my school that my senior really disliked. And so
Love that so much.
I got this video of my math teacher getting like destroyed by this dude in a Trout Mask Replica, like whole with a fish mask and everything.
That's amazing. Did you show it to
It was
your
so
all
good. Oh yeah, all the teachers saw it. Like
your
teachers have been asking me for that video because it's just so funny.
That's so
Like
great.
it is, but
What a little
it was an amazing experience, and I'm so looking forward to doing it again.
yeah, yeah.
And that
Yeah.
kind of that brings me to the next thing because I don't think you've played the U.S. in a while, right?
No, I haven't. When was the last time I played? I feel like it was 2023. I kind of took a break this year. My bass player in the SF band was she she's a mom and she is like the most amazing businesswoman that you could possibly imagine. Just a real powerhouse who has her own recording studio, her own record label, a business that she owns, and and her daughter was going to be a senior in high school. And she was just like, I don't think I can, I need to stop playing live. She was also in like three bands. And I think it just part of that was like, I think I'm going to slow down a little bit, write, reassess. And it's been a really nice year doing that. So now I feel much more energized and I wrote a bunch of songs. So that was good too. And recorded. So
I mean, you can't win much more than that.
yeah, yeah.
That is beautiful, and I'm glad you took the break, because a lot of bands, especially with I know with the OCs, that must have been extremely tiring, like touring.
I was younger and I was super up for it. But yeah, I mean, I was already 30, maybe 30, 32 or 33 when I joined OCs. And we did first 4 years was a lot of like sleeping on floors in punk houses. And, John, when I joined the band, John was like, he said, here's what you're gonna need. You're gonna need to bring a pillow with you. You're gonna need to get a sleeping mat, like a camping Coleman, and a sleeping bag. And that's a given. You're always going to be packing that so that we could just sleep anywhere we needed to. And even so, I did that for almost 10 years and I was tired at the end of it, but for a long time I had all the energy in the world for it. Yeah, I really loved it.
I
Yeah.
mean, it sounds like an incredible experience. What I'm hoping to do is take a gap year and
Oh
just
yeah.
go with like a band because now thank God with this job that I have, I
Yeah.
get to speak to so many wonderful people and I get these contacts. And I'm hoping that through one of the record labels I know or through like an artist, I can like hop on as a roadie or something and just kind of do that thing with
You
them.
definitely give it a shot. I think that would be a wonderful, because you clearly love music. And I
I
do
do.
think that maybe one of the apexes of this kind of music that you love is just going on the road and having that experience, Because it's a lot of waiting. It's a lot of looking out the window or driving or a lot of downtime waiting. And then you have this like your day culminates in an hour, a half hour, an hour and a half of like cathartic making music. And if you're lucky enough to be in OCs, you have moments of improvisation, which was my favorite always. Like that was heaven on earth. John would do something different and you'd be like, oh, here it comes. Like, what are we gonna, And I think in any capacity to be involved in that would be be really lovely for you. Be really cool.
No, I'm hoping, I'll ask some people around, but I think thankfully I have a little bit of time. Yeah, 3
Yeah,
more years.
yeah.
And that is not a great segue, but I'm gonna take it anyways. I would like to talk about how you kind of got into music, right? Because I know that your dad was a jazz pianist, right?
He is. He still is playing. Um, I got into music because my mom was a singer. She had a band in the 60s with her sisters, and she played the guitar, and her two younger sisters, they all sang three-part harmony together. So I was lucky in the sense that there was always music in my house. But also, I think my mom said I was always singing from when I was a little baby onwards, like just making up songs like la 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 la. And but I think music was in my house and I loved it. And I don't know. How did it really happen? At one point, my dad, we had moved around from like North Carolina to England, back to Santa Cruz, and my dad was gigging with this woman who was very glamorous. She had these long red nails like this. And she knew that by that point, she knew I liked singing. And because he would sometimes give me the microphone to fool around on. And she brought over these five Billie Holiday records. And she kind of went, hey, kid, just listen to these. And my dad said, if you learn how to imitate every single inflection of Billie's voice, you know, then you will have gone a long way to learning something about singing. So that is what I did. Those records over and over and over again. And I also fell in love with that was my first true.
Uh, Hello? Ooh, aye, aye, aye. Well, I am so sorry about what just happened. I'm not really sure. I'm gonna give her like a couple minutes to rejoin the Zoom, and if not, I'll send her another link, and I hope that works. I truly apologize for that. Uh, let me turn this off for a second. And
Hey,
she's
Jai.
back. There we go. Jay,
I don't
are
know
we
what
good?
happened. Yeah, I think we're good.
I
Maybe
th
yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad we're back. I know sometimes it gets a little
Yeah.
spotty. I think we were on Billy Idol
Billie Holiday.
inflections, Billie Holiday
Yeah.
inflections. That
Yeah, it was like falling in love with music deeply for the first time and then learning how to sing, you know. That would be my first falling in love. And then I think when I was 19, I joined my first, well, yeah, when I was 19, I joined my first proper band. It was very scary. I was very shy and didn't really enjoy being on stage, actually. But I loved singing so much that that pushed me to do it. and I did sang backup in a with a bunch of like 60-year-old surfer dudes who played. The band was called the Clam Tones. They had the best t-shirt I've ever seen, aside from OC's t-shirts, which was a clam with sunglasses on riding a wave. And it was one of those American baseball shirts. I don't know what they're doing now. I mean, they were much, much, much older than me. But it was cool because it was I Can Tina Turner songs, which is good singing to learn.
That is
Yeah. And then
so
there was,
funny.
right? Like, I mean, you just take your chances. For me, it was a long, I definitely had given up dreams of um ever kind of making a career out of music by the time I was 30. And what I decided to do was move back to America from London and just find a band that I loved. It was a real, leap of faith, because I left my partner who I'd been with for a long time then in the hopes that he would come over to America with me after he finished school. It was a real big leap of faith. And then that is when I met John at a cafe that I worked at. So it's just you should take people should take risks because, you know, sometimes they work out to be the best. And then finally in my 30s, I got to be, which is really late, I think, for music. I got to be in a band that was, you know, my dream experience of being on the road and being in a band.
And how did that happen? Because I know like the story is pretty legendary of you meeting John in the coffee shop. But how did he kind of lure you in, you know? Because I assume that it must be a lot of convincing for that
Well,
to happen.
I was in another band at that time with like with my coworker from the cafe and my very best friend who's an amazing singer. So we were singing harmonies. He was doing all this really beautiful finger picking guitar. Um, his name Merrick Long from the Dodos. We worked in the cafe together. And you may not know him, but his finger picking is top
No,
notch.
I know the Dodos. They're awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then John was a customer, and I think I was here. I'd come from London to America, California, where everyone's like, "Hey man, can I have a large coffee?" They're all everyone's a bit like not very funny. And John come in, he bustling with energy and jokes and sass, so much sass. And we just made friends. And then he was always handing out flyers for shows. And I loved his flyers. I love John's artwork too. So, and I made flyers too. So I think at one point we exchanged and I finally gave him a flyer. I said, you know, here, I don't think this is going to be your cup of tea at all. I really did. I truly believe that. I'm like, but you're always inviting me to shows, so here's one of mine. And he came and it felt like an interview, like weirdly like an interview. And then he asked me to be in the band. I think him and Patrick did one more, like, is she going to be cool vetting thing where they showed me a video of him smashing somebody in the head with a guitar. And I wasn't wildly offended by that. So there's backstory. He wasn't being a terrible person, um, but yeah, they're like, okay, she can be in the band.
That's so funny showing you a video of that. Because you know John's not like a malicious guy at all. Like he's just like a super chill dude.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's so that video needs to get the public needs that video, you know?
I don't, I don't know where it is or how you'd find it. I'm sure somebody out there knows. I don't even know if John thinks of that as a happy memory or not happy memory, but yeah. Anyway,
And
the
would
show
you
that I went to go see him play, and when we did that exchange, because I was like, do I want to be in a band with this guy? I don't know. I didn't really know what his music was like. I hadn't seen the Coach Whips, but he was playing in hospitals, and they did a plug-in generator show right outside of our 16th Street BART station on the street. And these old ladies were gathered around. There was like a little pit of people dancing. And it made me so happy. It was just wild and free and like, don't give up, you know, don't give up. bad word there. And just it was wonderful. It made me feel like 15 years old again at like the punk shows I would go see that back then. And I was like, I thought definitely I want to be in this band with him or, play music with him.
Well, I'm so glad you made that choice because what happened next is, like some probably the best collaboration that we've ever seen in like the past 10, 15 years. It's crazy. It's like the most amazing music. And I think your voices worked like perfectly.
I think so too. And I don't know if it's because we both got, I mean, once he said, uh, you know how families often sound really good singing together?
Mhm.
Yeah. For some reason, whatever is happening here and with John, it blends well together. So we got lucky for sure.
And do you ever see yourself collaborating with John again if it's an
Anytime he would
OCS?
ask me, yeah, anytime he would ask me, yeah, of course. My some of my greatest pleasures, like after I stopped touring with the OCs, were coming back in to sing on the records, but not being in the touring band. And so, and it hasn't happened in a little while. And I realized it hasn't happened since COVID actually, because I was in England. I wasn't able to go back. Anyway, it was so great, like another skill to learn, another skill in my belt of being handed like, 14 songs and, saying, kind of not learn this, but like, and then being able to come back in and sing with John and do the best I could do. And the Damaged Bugs ones were maybe my favorite. Bug on Yonkers, uh, yeah. So, I mean, what a pleasure to like get to learn somebody else's songs and be inspired by that. And John is one of my favorites. His vision I always love. So, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Always doing something new. And the Damaged Bug records are like really something special with
they're my favorite. They're my favorite.
the way
Yeah.
I think the way that they're kind of recorded in like that guerrilla way and
Mhm.
how like natural everything sounds. Nothing
Yeah.
is overdone. It's it's like a perfect egg, like over easy.
Is a perfect egg, and that should be a song title. That's great. Yeah.
That could be that could be a song title right there. Or like a piece of OC's merch, because again, like you said, they have some of the best merch out there. Like always the best
Yeah.
designs, always the best. That's what like my one gripe is whenever like I go to punk shows, is
Yeah.
that they'll have like one kind of dingy shirt that you can tell was made 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, and I'm gonna support them anyways. But
Yeah.
like I love a variety, with like a one long sleeve, a poster, a short sleeve, because it just means that we're gonna spend more of our money on it.
Yeah. That's true. And you support the band that way because these days, I mean, that's really how bands are making it, right?
Yeah, the
Um,
touring economy, is a tight one.
yeah. It's not, I would say this is not for most people, it's not the career to choose. If it's even a career, I mean, I don't think you get a choice. You love music and then that's what you have to do, but it doesn't maybe always make you very safe financially or anything like that. For some people, it's good, but not for other people, maybe not so much. So it's a hard one. It's dedication, desire, devotion, dedication,
The three Ds.
the 3Ds. And you do it because you have to. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so, do you think you would ever go on like a short run of dates with John and like the crew? Like again, maybe like a anniversary dates or something?
I mean, gosh, I'd love to, but it's not, I think I'd be very nervous as well, frankly. Um, yeah, but because the crowds are so much bigger than what I have ever been used to playing to
Yeah,
in the
they've been
long.
playing bigger and bigger shows and
Yeah.
selling out them in like an instant. Like it's hard for people to get tickets to OC shows.
Yeah. I
Like
know that's so crazy. I mean, I go to they play when they play in San Francisco, they do that 4 night run and they play right around the corner from my house. And John's like, "You're going to be there every night, right?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am." And I mean, it's pretty crazy and it's sold out every night, which just seems mad, mad to me.
and it's crazy because I mean the venues they kind of have been playing the same venues every single year, but they just sell out faster and faster. And the
Yeah.
fact that they that kind of hit the same places every single year, or every 2 years, shows that
Yeah.
there's like a massive demand. Because most
Yeah.
bands, if you hit the same city in 2 years,
Yeah.
no one's showing up.
Is that really true, huh?
In this touring economy, I've noticed that with like a lot, especially a lot of the older bands that are kind of
Yeah.
doing those like dumb like legacy acts, they will show up because like especially the amphitheaters are very corporate. They will show up and a lot of old geezers will be there, which is good, you know. I mean, they're getting out. And then
Yeah.
the next time they'll play is in like 6 months, and there's no one. Tickets do not sell at all. It's just kind of sad, you know, but I think it kind of makes sense if you're playing the same set list every night and you're not really changing anything up and there's not much excitement. Well,
There's something like such a joy and an art to keeping it fresh, and I realize I more than anybody what the back catalog of songs are that the OCs have to choose from. But I also know what care and thought John put into what is it going to be on this tour, and there'll always be those ones that stick around for ages because they're joyous and because they're fun to play and and because people want to hear them. But I love that, even for me, the 4 nights of shows that I go to, it's like endlessly interesting because it changes from night to night. And I know how much care goes into that. So maybe that's why know that it's going to be fresh each time,
I
you
think that's why
know.
people love your music too, you know? I mean, caring, as I think we've all seen in this interview, you know, very lovely person and incredible music, which is like a combo that you can't really duplicate. And sadly, we're getting to the end of our interview because keeping with that punk and DIY ethics, I don't pay for Zoom. I will never pay for Zoom. It's like my
I
favorite
love
platform,
that.
but
I
I'm not
don't,
gonna pay.
no way. Yeah.
Exactly. It's expensive too. It's like $5 a month. Not happening. I
Yeah.
don't make any money. All the money I will ever get is going into merch for shows.
Yeah.
So
Good.
not
That's
happening. But it has been an absolute honor to speak to you. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. This was
I really
incredible.
did. Yeah,
And
my first in ages. Yeah,
well,
thank you.
hopefully people start asking you again. That's very surprising.
Yeah,
And
we'll see.
the good news is that I'm actually going to be in London
When are you going to
next.
be there?
I think in crap the beginning of June because my mom's been wanting us to go out of the country for forever, and the only times we ever gone was to India because I'm Indian to see family,
Yeah,
and then to Mexico because that's like the easiest. You know, I'm in Georgia. It's kind of just like an easy like hour
yeah.
flight, and you can get cheap flights there. But we're finally doing like our first really big trip, which is exciting because I haven't done that. But
Um,
oh, I got less than a minute, so I got to wrap
well,
this up. Thank you so
okay.
much. It's been an
Thank
honor.
you. Thank you,
Keep in
Jai.
touch, and hopefully we'll be
Okay.
able to meet up.
Okay. Yes, that sounds great.